Greetings, travelers.
Greetings, travelers.
Yes, we are in 40 in February
So
and
say you, big words and
big,
stuff.
big words. And we're on one of the most auspicious days of 40 in February because
Wow.
it is St. Valentine's Day, right?
Yes, it is the day that, mob bosses slaughtered a bunch of people in an alleyway. That's what we're celebrating, right? That's,
No, well, yeah, the Valentine's Day Massacre would also, it could be any of, there were three St. Valentines from the Catholic Church, at least three that I know of. And all three were martyred doing various terrible things. One outlawed marriage for young men, and from Emperor Claudius when he thought single men were better soldiers, and then this guy defied the decree and performed marriages for young lovers. So maybe that's the one. But anyway, he was beheaded by Claudius outside of Rome, so that's why we eat eggs. I don't know.
no, eggs is a totally
Oh,
different
that's
holiday.
Easter. What do we chocolate something here?
We take
So
things in the shape of a heart and then we eat the heart. It is very, very Freudian, I'm sure. Like,
the
that's
real cool thing is, we had Lupercalia, which was the pagan festival in this day, and then on top of it, I think the first time Valentine's Day is mentioned is Chaucer in
yeah.
1375.
You
So
got
that's
to
cool.
appreciate Mr. Chaucer. He's one of my faves.
Oh yeah, and yeah, well, and Paul Bettany immortalized him in A Knight's Tale.
Oh, don't get me started on how much I love Mr. Bettany. I'm excited. Excited. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, so besides the day that we should be eating lots of chocolate, which is really my excuse, and the worst day to possibly get a restaurant reservation, those two things, we have a very special guest today.
Yes. Think we're recording in advance because he's got someone special he's spending his Valentine's Day with, I'm sure. So we are recording now with the amazing one of my favorite investigators. And this guy has traveled all over and he presents almost as much as I do, which is crazy. And I would like to welcome aboard a good friend of mine, Mike Familant. So
Woo!
Mike from In
Welcome.
the Shadow of Redeye
Hello.
is here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am single, by the way. So, ladies listening, feel free to slide into the DMs. That's okay by me.
I was
Okay.
talking
We
about your favorite special person, Sasquatch.
Oh, well, yeah, I am actually going to be in the woods Bigfooting Valentine's Day. So, yeah, I will be spending it with my favorite person.
Okay, so not gonna lie, there was a whole article somebody posted today on one of the many, many paranormal sites that I'm now cyber stalking. And they mentioned that Bigfoot said to them, I don't know what this is. So I'm just my total cheapseats here. I'm not the right person for this, but they mentioned that the one thing Bigfoot said to them was that they want to mate with human women. So just saying, is that a possible DM slip into if there's the right sassy woman for you?
I mean, I'm not going to put it past me. That's, yeah.
I endorse that message. I
Yeah,
endorse that message. Way to make it weird. The
If
best
it's
part.
if it's if it's in the name of scientific research, I will do practically anything.
there you go.
Oh, I'm going to come up with a list. But I think the best part of this, which travelers you don't get the opportunity to see, was the look on Mark's face when I just said that, because it was almost as great as the Bigfoot incest joke I made a while ago. So you're
Yeah,
welcome,
yeah.
travelers.
Sassy Squatch is going to be. I think we need to talk to Adulting Axolotl, and a Sassy Squatch should be
We
our
need
new.
a sassy squatch because I'm what are female Sasquatch called? Are they just Sasquatch?
There's Sasquatch.
Hmm.
All right.
Mike,
Well,
we need to
Mike.
work on these
They,
names, but let's talk a little bit about you.
all right. What would you like to know?
Well, let's go with the origin story. What got you into all this?
Origin story. All right. So here I am, living in Florida, right? Sarasota, and I was working at a beach resort, which is like the best job I've ever had my entire life, right? And I was watching Finding Bigfoot on TV. I could say that, right? Can I say
Yeah,
that?
Yeah,
of course.
I
yeah.
was
We've
watching
had we've
Finding
had
Bigfoot.
Stacey Brown, a few others on. So
Awesome. Watching Finding Bigfoot on TV, and at the end of it, I had no interest in it, right? No interest whatsoever. It was just on, and in the background, I heard him say, like, at the end of the show, if you want to come out with us and investigate, you can come out with us. And I was like, oh, my God, there's no way I'm not doing this. This is like this is gonna be the coolest thing ever. So, anyways, I signed up that night. I was engaged at the time, right? Did not tell the fiance what we were doing. Okay, this was gonna be like a little pre-wedding surprise thing, you know. So let me back up a little bit. Before this, I had always been like an inside kid, like always like video games, movies, stuff like that. Never like outside. I never went camping. This was like this Bigfoot trip was going to be my first ever camping experience, right? Crazy enough, I know. So, anyways, the time is coming along, and I have to start getting all this gear, like my tent and my sleeping bag and stuff like that, right? And I had hidden it in a little. Me and my fiance were living in this little 1 bedroom apartment thing in Sarasota, and I was hiding everything in like that little closet we had outside. And one day she decided to clean. Don't ask me why. It was just like a one-off thing. I don't know what she never ever cleaned ever before. But anyway, she found the stuff and she's like, Mike, what are we doing? And I said, Hun, we are going to North Florida and we are gonna look for Bigfoot, right? And then we broke up. So
Oh,
yeah, then I got a job on the ambulance working on the city of Tampa. I'm an EMT by trade. And I found out these tickets are non-refundable. A lot of money. These tickets were very expensive. And they were non-refundable. So I'm like, crap, now I got to find somebody to come on this trip with me up to North Florida. So I had 3 partners on the ambulance, right? And I had picked the weirdest partner. That's how I did it. And I was like, hey Jimmy, I got these tickets to go up to look for Bigfoot. Do you want to come? Do you want to come with me? And he said, and he's my best friend to this day. He's like, I've always wanted to do that. And I said, yes, awesome, right? So, anyways, trip comes along. We go up to Torreya State Park in the Panhandle of Florida, which is really cool. It's actually where Stacy Brown had his thermal
yep,
sighting, which is
yep.
cool. So that was awesome. We were up there and we were doing our thing, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. The entire trip, nothing happened. It was kind of a bust, right? So, anyways, the final night, me and Jimmy, we were up watching it. We camped kind of further away from everybody because we thought everybody was going to be weird, because I mean, think about it. Bigfoot expedition, that's kind of strange to start with. So, anyways, we camped a little further away than everybody, and we were watching a meteor shower, having a little campfire by ourselves. It was beautiful, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden, you hear bam, a knock, and I had instantly thought it's like, oh, it has to be the people that put on the expedition, that are hoaxing us. We didn't have any Bigfoot activity. It costs a lot of money. Gotcha. Hoaxing us. That's how they get these people that come back every year. About 5 minutes later, bam, tree knot from the other way. I'm like, man, these people are pretty good. They must have radios and be in communication with each other. And didn't think twice of it. So about 10 minutes later, we're just sitting like by the fire talking like we are, and you hear it come crashing down through the trees. Plonk. A fist-sized rock landed about 5 feet from us. And I said, at this point in my life, I said, nope, this is how horror movies start. I am getting out of here, right?
Man after my own heart. Nope.
Yeah, nope, not having this. Not having it. So my buddy's like, Jimmy, he was like, well, if you want to sleep in the car, you're more than. By the time he said that, I had my tent and my sleeping bag, and I was beelining it right to the car. And anyways, he came up to the car and he's like, Mike, Bigfoots knock on trees, they throw rocks. This could be like Squatchy activity that we're having right now. And I was like, yeah, I suppose so. So he talked me out back by the campfire, and over the course of the next, like I'd say about 15 minutes, 4 more of these fist-sized rocks come crashing down, land 5 to 10 feet from our campfire. And it's at the 5th time, the 5th rock, Jimmy was like, Mike, I got an idea. I'm going to throw a rock back at it. And I said, Jimmy, man, I don't think that's a good idea, man. So he takes one of the rocks and he chucks it back at that direction. And I knew it wasn't like a person messing with us, because at that exact moment, a 15-pound laptop sized boulder came crashing down and landed 5 feet from us.
Whoa,
And that
that's
was it.
big.
That was it. Then nothing else happened. The next morning we asked around, hey, did anybody, it was a sleepless night, obviously. But hey, did anybody hear anything last night? Nobody heard anything. We did some measurements to see like how close this thing could have been, like throwing these rocks, and the closest this thing could have been was like 75 yards away. So
Wow.
I don't know. Unless Nolan Ryan's out there chilling and throwing rocks in the middle of Florida Panhandle, I don't know what's going on, right?
No, it's true. It sounds like from everything that I've heard, that was Bigfoot going, you guys need to leave. You're too
You're a
close.
little too close.
Too close. I think that's why that, like, we were the only people that got activity that night, is because we camped further away from everybody. We were that closer to that Bigfoot family
Yeah.
group, or whatever you want to call them, clan or whatever.
What I think is funny is because you had the nope situation there, which would immediately, first of all, there would be no convincing me to go back to the campsite unless something started hitting the car. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm not safe in the car either. But and then you decided to keep doing this. So what the nope didn't hold very long.
No. After this whole thing, we left the expedition, and I was like, I was thinking, I was like, man, there's gotta be something behind this Bigfoot thing. There gotta be. Something had to throw that rock. So I was like, I'm gonna look into this. And it kind of caught my attention. And it was the second time we went out that I saw like eye shine. It was very ominous, and that's what really kind of lit the fire into me. Is like, okay, something's definitely out there, and I want to figure out what it is. And I've been doing it since that was back in 2011. So what, 13 years ago now?
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a ride for sure. I've been to some really beautiful places. I met some really amazing people, like you and Mark, and everybody along the way. It's been I wouldn't change it for the world.
So tell us about In the Shadow of Redeye. How did that start?
Okay, yeah. So I was watching all these shows on TV, and I was doing all these investigations. This is like fast forward a couple years after my initial encounters, and I'm watching these shows, and I'm like, man, I've been doing Bigfoot for a while, and this isn't how Bigfooting is. Like, they're editing it really hardcore, and it's just not right. So I was like, I got a background in video editing, and I'm a little bit bored. So why don't I just take my background and let's film our Bigfoot investigations and put them on YouTube. And now we're just shy of 3,000 followers. So that's pretty crazy.
I like that you said that because that's one of the things we talk about on various investigations. And I know Mark said that you're into more than just the Bigfoot, which we'll get into in a minute. But that you said that you're watching people do edited, because I think that is probably one of the most frustrating things for people who are really into the paranormal is, kind of to your original story. You're out there forever. How many days were you out on your first trip?
It was a 3-nighter.
Yeah, and so it's the very last night that something happens, and maybe nothing would have happened, right? But when you said maybe it's the people putting it on, which they don't, throwing rocks and stuff to make it happen, I could see people doing that to go, this thing, because so many people are like, something's going to happen, and sometimes nothing happens, regardless of how active something is.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people don't understand that. And I used to bring people out on investigations, and they used to, I had one guy's like, okay, when's it gonna happen? When are we gonna get some activity? And I sense of not don't bring really people out too much anymore. But I get activity maybe 1 in 10, maybe 1 in 15 times, and that could be anywhere from like a possible knock to maybe an unusual footprint find type thing. It's not like crazy like sightings or anything like that. I've actually never seen a Bigfoot, to be honest with you. I've never seen one.
Me, I like all the other peripheral stuff. I love Bigfoot, but I love when you're out there, the things that are happening around you that might also be something unusual. But I love going out with Bigfoot hunters because they take us to all the coolest places that you're never going to see in your life if you don't go out and do this. You're in the Shadow of Redeye was one of those first ones that I turned on, and was like, "Hey, this guy's actually doing this stuff. He's talking the talk and walking the walk." It was, fascinating to me, and I think that was when we first, connected back then.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago too. We've been friends for quite some time. But yeah, the one thing that I hold true and near and dear to my heart is like the mission statement of the show, and that's to get people off the couch and into nature more. See something that you wouldn't see. Go on that waterfall hike that you've been putting off for the last couple years. Like that's my thing. And every episode of my show has that kind of underlying message behind it. So hopefully I can entice some people to get outside more.
So tell us a little bit about Redeye.
Big Redeye in 1972. We have northwestern New Jersey, the very northern tip of New Jersey, that kind of like the armpit of Pennsylvania, New York. That's where I live. The highest point in New Jersey is like 13 or 1,800 feet, something like that, 1,803 feet. But anyways, there's a state park ranger in 1972 that was working there, and he was doing his patrols at night. And he went on record and in his report said that he came across two pairs of reflecting red eyes in the woods during his patrol. So, like I said, he wrote that down on his paper or whatever in his report. And somehow the next day, the newspaper got a hold of it. And thus the name they created the name as most newspapers do create the best names for things. Big Red Eye was born. So that's pretty neat. And that was back in 72. And it's been seen all around the United States since then.
Red eyes is definitely one of those things that a lot of people forget, when they're doing eye shine checks and stuff like that. Most it's yellow or, orangish. And there's a great Sasquatch, like an alpha somewhere up in the Pennsylvania area called Old Orange Eyes. And we love him because he's like 12 feet tall, supposedly, and in his
Yeah.
sightings that have been reported. But I loved Big Red Eye. I thought that was very cool.
It's our little geographic Bigfoot claim to fame type thing. It's even though it's a small little area, it's still our little little thing we have.
Yeah. Well, Florida, we call him skunk ape. So, we're stuck with that.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
Mark loves to make that. Here at Mark, where we presently live, they're called the boojum or
the
the
boojum.
stump jumper.
Yeah.
Boojum. So, not all names make it better. Let's just
Oh.
put it that way.
Yeah. We can't have nice things.
No, and I think it's following you. That's what I'm going to say about that. So, my question though for you, Mike, because we're just officially meeting now, crossing paths, so to speak. Mark said you were interested in other things too, that you were not just the Bigfoot person. So, what are your other areas that you like to delve into?
I'm mostly the Bigfoot person. That's kind of my goal is to see what threw rocks at me, and I think it was Bigfoot. A lot of people ask me like what kind of other cryptids I believe in, right? And I've been out in the woods a lot. Like last year, I spent 127 nights tent camping, and I couldn't tell you how many miles I've hiked in the woods that last year or whatever. But I've come across some Bigfooty stuff, Squatchy stuff, but never anything Dogman, never anything Mothman, and no other cryptids. So I'm not saying that they're not out there. It would just be, it would be hard for me to believe something unless I see one. And that's the same way with Bigfoot. I'm sitting 70% that Bigfoot exists, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't even know if he's truly out there for sure, just because I've never seen one. The cryptid that I would love to be real is well, it's not really a cryptid, more of an extinct animal, but the Tasmanian tiger. Yeah, that was is one of my favorite cryptids that we got going on. If I ever had an opportunity to go out to Tasmania, I would take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
What
but
I want to experience over there is I want to experience the sound of Tasmanian devils at night.
Oh yeah,
Because you want to talk about thinking that there's a cryptid out there following you is that sound. Travelers, if you have not heard a Tasmanian devil, you can look this up on YouTube. I'm sure Beau can clickety clack a link for us of what the sound these things make are, and you get why they got their name. Moo.
No, I got to take Mike to a couple places in Brooksville. So we went to one of the old cemeteries out there, which had some Squatch sightings near Shiloh Cemetery. but it also has some ghosts. So we got to have a little fun in the cemetery for a video last year where
That
we
was like
were
the trifecta of everything. I mean, if you wanted
yeah.
to get cryptids, paranormal, anything you wanted, you could probably find at that cemetery. That was awesome. And I got to say thank you again for bringing me there, me and Wiley and I. That was so fun.
Yeah, that's why I was like, all right, see, you can find other things while we're out. Looking for Bigfoot.
And if you remember correctly, Wiley found oranges.
Yes, he found some wild oranges there. Great. And I think we went to Coney Island hot dogs and had a dog where Elvis ate. So
Yeah.
can't go wrong with that. But no, that's one of the fun things while you get to do all this stuff while you're hunting for Bigfoot and all that is you've traveled literally up and down the United States and you've gone to some really amazing places. So like what are some of your standouts?
Oh man, it's hard to answer because it really depends on like what you're looking like, what kind of stuff you're into, right? Like I'm into views. Like if I could hike to the top of a mountain and get a really cool view, I'm going to. Best example would be last year I was at Brasstown Bald in Georgia. That has I think you can see like 5 different states or some crazy something like that.
That's
And
not far from
it's
us. No.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's right down the road from you guys. You guys, if you've never been there, take a trip. It's a little hike up there. It's very steep, but it's worth it. I love, love, love the Adirondacks in New York State.
Mm.
That's one of my favorite places to visit. The mountains are just absolutely breathtaking. I've never seen anything else like it. It's really cool Lake Placid area and Whiteface Mountains, really cool history when it comes to the Olympics and stuff like that. So you got that stuff there. Another place, the Smoky Mountains, right by you guys. I've
Where we're
backpacked.
at. Yeah.
Yeah. A Deep Creek Trail, a backpack through there, and that is just it's one of the most beautiful places that I've ever had the opportunity of exploring. And we
Do
haven't
you
talked
do
to
these trips on your own?
yeah, generally I do. It depends on if I could get somebody to come with me. I open it up to all my friends on Facebook and stuff like that, but generally like when I'm taking a trip, I'm out there for like 2 to 3 weeks. Like that's how long my tours are.
Oh,
Uh
wow.
s- so I'm tent camping for that long, and a lot of people aren't as crazy or as weird as me, so they don't want to do that for some reason. So there's that.
Yeah. I came out for a half day. I didn't even stay the night. 'Cause, epilepsy's a fun thing. You don't want me in the woods at night. So
I
it's
give
just
you
not
credit
fun.
for the half day, Mark. That was, like I said, that was great.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we are going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we will talk more with Mike. The sweltering heat of the Florida sun breaks as a chill runs down your spine. A dark shadow looms from a nearby tourist trap. You didn't expect to find this kind of shade in Florida. If only there was some sort of travel guide to steer you through the spookier locales. Well, you're in luck, reader. Join author Mark Muncy and Carrie Schultz as they lead you through the darkest locations in the Sunshine State in creepy Florida. Available from History Press and at fine bookstores everywhere.
Prepare to be devoured. The Wolves of Wharton is a 6-part complete book series by Eerie Travels producer Beau Lake. It has been called dark and visceral, steamy, dramatic, and a fresh take on the werewolf mythos. If you like action, adventure, a large serving of body horror, and some steamy relations, the Wolves of Wharton series is for you. Pick it up wherever books are sold or at linktree.com/Beau__Lake.
We're back.
We're back. So, I have to ask this, Mike, before you start talking about your tour and all this other stuff that you're doing. What is the weirdest encounter that you've had?
I've met some pretty weird people.
Humans
Yeah.
are the weirdest people. Like
We are. We're the weirdest
Walking Dead.
encounters.
It's not the
Really?
zombies, it's the humans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I met somebody this is not my proudest moment ever that I've ever done before, but I met somebody in Maine who claimed to have witnessed a 20-foot Sasquatch with talons, and it looked like a pterodactyl. I mean, this 93-inch footprints this thing left.
Wow.
93. Yeah. And it's on my YouTube. Anybody can check it out. It's a Bigfoot campfire story. But anyways, after this, I went into the woods at night with this gentleman, which is probably a mistake. It was me and my friend. He's like, he took us to this place. He's like, I'm gonna put a trail camera up, right? And I was like, okay. He's like, let's go in the woods, and we just got to go south. We're just gonna go south, straight line south. And I said, I put on my GPS tracker because I'm like, I don't think so. I had a little suspicion. And as we're weaving around trees, I'm looking at the GPS, and we're going in this big circle. He's like, okay, we're gonna put the trail camera here. I'm like, okay. And then he put it up, and then he started going backwards, and he's going the complete wrong direction. So I let him go for like 5 minutes. I'm like, dude, we're just going deeper in the woods. He's like, no, we're not. We're going north. And I'm like, no, we're not. Anyways, he didn't realize that. I don't know. That was weird. Let's see. Bloody Doll, Pennsylvania State Forest Road. Not cool. Found that one. That was not a good sighting.
Wait. What? Hold on. You can't just drop that. Did you just say bloody doll?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it was, and a shoe.
A bloody doll in a shoe?
And a shoe. They were about 3 feet away from each other, just hanging out. Yeah. I left. I skedaddled out of the area quickly.
Wow.
It didn't help we were camping on the same road. That was a little shady.
That's no, that's not good. I don't like any of that. No, I'm gonna pass. Hard pass. Nope. Nope. I'm out. Okay. Mark, go ahead. Because I just can't. That just broke
just threw her off. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'll do it. So when you go on these adventures, when you're going, what are your preparations? What are the things you bring with you?
It depends on how long I'm going for, where I'm going, if I'm going with anybody, that type of thing. Generally, I pack my car up extremely full. I have what's called the Bigfoot Mobile Command Center. You got the grand tour of it when we were down. It's packed. I mean, there's no room for anything in there. Partly because I have I have like over 100 items on my Etsy store. We have an Etsy to kind of keep us rolling along, right? And since I'm gone for so long, and on these extended tours, I actually have to bring my inventory with me, and I ship it as I go. So that takes up a lot of room, but it's really cool because I get to see these like small town post office wherever I go, and I get to like tour these little small towns and get pizza in like the little small towns and stuff. It's really cool. But I bring everything you can think of, all the investigating gear, thermal, night vision, trail cameras, what have you. Sometimes I'll bring my guitar if I am going and I know that there's not going to be anybody camping within earshot of us. So I'll bring my guitar because I'm terrible. But yeah, this is some of the stuff.
All right. And then let's say somebody is wanting to go on their first Sasquatch hunt, and they've had activity near them or something, and they're interested, because we've got emails where people are like, hey, I think something's nearby. Should they do it alone, or should they reach out to help? I'm being a little leading there. So
yeah, definitely do it alone. Go by yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Mark, how the hell did you invite this person on the show? First advice ever. No, just kidding.
No, how to go about going, get somebody to go with. There's do's and don'ts of bigfooting, right? Don't do stupid things, like don't trespass, don't go by yourself the first time. Do tell somebody where you're going, leave an itinerary with somebody. Don't do anything that's crazy. Don't do anything that you can't do. Don't do a 10-mile hike if you've never hiked before, type of thing. Keep it simple. There's a ton of amazing information and groups on Facebook where you could find every state has a Bigfoot group where you could reach out to that group and say, hey, I have had activity here. I happen to moderate a bunch of them on the East Coast, so you can even reach out to me if you'd like to, and we can make sure that you get some good advice before you go out without knowing what to do in the woods, right?
Yeah, and that's what I try to send people when people message us. We send them to teams and a couple teams that you guys help moderate. If you want questions, there are people out there who can help.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people will come to me and say, where's Bigfoot sightings here, here, and here, especially when I'm out at these libraries touring places. Like, and unfortunately, I can't, I don't know every area that I go to. I don't know the sightings specifically in that area. I don't have, unfortunately, I'm going to be at 20 states this year, so I don't have enough time to research every location that I go to. Unfortunately, I wish I could. But at these libraries, it's really cool because people will come in and that have had sightings, and it's almost like a mini town hall where people will tell me their sighting and say, hey, you need to check out here, and then that night I'll go and check that place out. It's awesome. So if you've had activity and I'm coming to an area near you, check out my website, shadowofredeye.com, and you can see where I'll be. Come to one of my library presentations, check it out.
Very cool. Okay, so question, when people are going out, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, you don't always see something, right?
Right.
Is there education on certain things you think people should do before they go out? Because like we live up in the mountains, and my boyfriend went outside and he came back in and he's like, there's something out there. And I'm like, well, we live on a mountain, but he was like, it sounded like a monkey screaming. And so I texted Mark and I'm like, so what sounds like a monkey screaming? And he's like, I think it's a bobcat. Right. So but you hear that in the woods. We were talking about the Tasmanian devil. If you heard that in the woods, you'd be like, we are being surrounded and we're going to be hunted and killed by demons, like. So what would you recommend somebody do education wise so that they are actually listening for the right things?
Familiarize yourself with what animals are in your woods. Like, for perfect example, and something that people may not realize is peacocks sound crazy. And if you live in Florida, then you probably know what a peacock sounds like. And me coming from outside of Florida, the first time that I heard one, I almost crapped myself. I was like, what in the world is that? But the best way, and I'm going to do a little plug for myself here just because, why not? Pick up a copy of Squatchables. It's my 11-part DVD series about how to find a Bigfooting 101. And it's designed for exactly this scenario. If people have never been out in the woods before and don't want to spend X $100 going out on, an official Bigfoot research or an investigation, you can definitely do it with yourself and a couple friends, as long as you're safe and smart about it. But a copy of Squatchables would help you out with that. That's like, I put in there, if you've never been in the woods hiking before, like how to like read trail markers, like left, right type thing, all the way up to like very in-depth stuff, like how to cast a Bigfoot track and stuff like that. It's got everything in there. It's pretty neat.
We talk about the knocking and stuff like that. What are some other things like that you've experienced?
I've heard vocalizations. We were up in High Point State Park, as the same state park where the initial big Redeye story came from, and we were on this gas line. I think gas lines are like Bigfoot highways, or power lines are like Bigfoot highways. But anyways, there were 5 of us there, and we had I did a barred owl call, because that's a common owl that's up by us. So I did a barred owl call, and about 5 seconds later, we got this series of 3 howls back, recorded. 5 people recorded them on 5 different voice recorders. So it's not like anything is, so anyways, I sent that clip off to a linguist from the military who does Bigfoot research on the side. So he's like completely appropriate to listen to my audio, right? So he came back and he said, with this like 5-page report, he said, because of like X, Y, and Z, it's outside of human vocal range, and it's no known animal. So that's pretty cool. And that comes from like a scientist from the military.
Wow.
Every
Go ahead, Mark.
little bit of evidence is something new, and that's we try to point that out to everybody. It's like there's a reason this stuff needs studies, because we're finding bits and we haven't been able to compile it all. And that's what, thankfully, some of these universities are doing that now with the DNA testing, and some are, taking calls and stuff. They're like, what is it? The guys who do our favorite thing, the Merlin app, that do the bird calls and stuff. They're finding new things on that they weren't expecting. And that's and one of the things that's funny is they mentioned peacocks is one of the things that app hasn't figured out is peacock calls. And it's a bird app and it listens to bird sounds, but since peacocks aren't normally in this area, they don't show up on the call. So people go, oh, it's a monster, it's a ghost, because it's it didn't show up on my bird call app. It's like, well, it's because it's not native to this area, and that's part of what we study is out of place things. So things that might have invasive species are a thing, gang.
What's interesting, like I lived in Florida for a time. That's where me and Mark met. And one of the things that scared the crap out of me one time was a frog. So I was inside my house and all of a sudden I heard what sounded like a child screaming. So appropriate. I grabbed a baseball bat and I went outside because I was like, if somebody's beating the crap out of a child, they're about to get a metal baseball bat to the face. There are certain things where Erika will not know about the situation. But this screaming, and then I open the door and it stops. So I'm walking around, like I'm looking all around because it didn't sound like it was that far. And I see nothing. Like there's nobody out. There's not, not even a cat or whatever. I go back inside a couple minutes later, it starts again. And I'm like, what in the crap is this? Right. And I'm literally getting ready to call the police because it sounds like this child is having the crap beat out of them. I go outside and I'm shining a light, and all of a sudden I noticed that there's this little frog that was sort of like a yellowish gold color, but it was a pretty big frog, 3 or 4 inches in my window. And it turns out those make that sound and they sound like a child. And I'm like, nature is so deceptive. I'm quite sure this is a warning thing for something out in the world, like make this scream and bats leave it alone. I don't know. But was terrifying, and peacocks too. And I'm like, I sometimes imagine what it would be like without the technology we have and stuff, hearing some of these sounds in nature. We'd be like, we're never leaving the house again.
You guys want to know the most scared that I've ever been in the woods?
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
We got to hear that.
All right. So we're in Stoke State Forest, which is in New Jersey, and it was February, and it was me and my buddy Kevin, who has since passed. But me and Kevin, it was right before an expedition. I was an investigator with the BFRO, and we were doing the day before the investigation, where everybody was coming, and it was cold. I mean, like double sleeping bag cold, right? So I was in my 2 mummy sleeping bags, and I was like mummified up like this. I had a 1-person tent that you couldn't even sit up on it. Like that was like how small it was. It was a backpacker tent. So. But it was like super moon out. Like you could see the shadows. I mean, it was like almost like day. So anyways, here I am. I just laid down, just got comfortable. And then it happens, right? It starts from right over my head and you could see the shadow of it. And then it starts coming down. And what is it? Spider. Most scared I've ever been before in the woods.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
The beauty of having a wife who raises spiders, that doesn't bother me anymore.
I screamed so loud. There's audio of it somewhere, people. I don't know where, but there's definitely audio.
I can share my scariest camping experience because believe it or not, Mark, I actually went camping as a child. What? And we were camping in I think it was up near Big Bear. It was in California. I was in the Redwoods, and it was, I want to say about 15, 16 kids, and it was like a summer camp. It was called Camp Get You Dirty.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, which, as an adult, that has many other connotations. But anyway, so we were up there. We had gone fishing, and they had put all of our food in the station wagon. It was one of those big station wagons with the big back door that had the seat in the back as well that you could, but we're all in these tents, and there's probably 4 of us kids in each tent, and the adults are in one tent, and This is back in the 80s when it was, presumed safe to do such things. All of a sudden we hear this crashing noise, like just violent crashing noise. Of course, we are awoken from our slumber. And me and the person in the tent with me that woke up, we unzipped the tent. We're kids. We unzipped the tent. Look outside. There is a fucking grizzly bear breaking into the car to get the Twinkies that were in the back of the car.
Yep.
This thing, and I'm not exaggerating when I say grizzly bear. It was a fucking grizzly bear. It was almost the size of the car. Like, it was so big. And we're just sitting there. And I remember just like, those moments where people talk about, I was frozen. I was frozen. I mean, I was maybe 11 years old or something like that, 10. And then the thing, of course, because we unzipped and we're there, turns its head. And I was like, I'm going to die. Now, of course, the Twinkies were way more important to this bear than the small children in the tent, right? The next day, the camp counselors are like, so, there was a bear in camp no duh. There was a bear in camp last night. Ah! So I appreciate your spider story, but fucking grizzly bear.
Is that why you don't go camping anymore?
No. So I am not a fan of sleeping on hard ground, for one.
Fair. Okay.
I'm not a fan of being cold. I am not a fan of bugs. Not just spiders. Spiders don't actually bother me as much, except for if it was dangling and I was all bundled, maybe, because there's no escape. But I find that a lot of times, unless you're doing something on camping specifically, it's boring. Like, everybody go out and hang out in the woods. It's like drinking in card games or something. And I'm like, I could do this in a much more comfortable bed. I could get the same amount of drunk with less mosquitoes, less freezing my ass off, less uncomfortable sleeping. So if that, is going to be the activity, it's not going to happen. But now that we do this podcast, my gut feeling tells me that, unfortunately for me, there are going to be several times I will be in camping type situations looking for various monsters, which there's a whole theory I have there of why go in search of things that are that much bigger than me. It's kind of like, this is a very haunted asylum. Let's go here at night. What? Like, you already know, it's already got a warning label on it. Why the hell would you want to do that? But I'm sure we're going to be doing that as well. So
a little bit, and possibly hanging out with Mike one night on his journeys through our area. So
yeah, definitely.
Yes. Do not plan it when it's cold. You plan it when it's cold. No.
I will do my best. Make sure Mother Nature warms up when I'm down there.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we got to take him to Chimney Rock and Blowing Rock and a few other fun places around there, and Klingman's Dome. And
yeah, well, we can also, maybe he'll find that white cryptid that everybody's seeing around.
Oh yeah, the recent we've had a recent rash of white things, which are basically white Sasquatch, like albino.
Really?
They're gray colored, and we've had quite a few sightings in this area from eastern Tennessee to western North Carolina, so and a little North Georgia too. I've been forwarding them on to BFRO, so we'll see if anybody has something a little more definitive. But the fact that we've gotten like 4 over a 3-month period was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it sounds a little fishy. That's cool.
Yeah, something is out there. Something is out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Something is out there.
Right now, speaking of which, something is out there. You're going to be out and about. When does your tour start? And where do you head?
Our tour is gonna start in lovely Florida. I always start in Florida in February because I'm a snowbird in heart, and it's gonna be warm down there in February. Yeah. Just like Erika, I do not like the cold at all. But yes, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, and Mississippi. Those are the 5 states that I'm going to be in February and early March, and then Mark, I'm going to be everywhere. I mean, I can't even. I think I'm slotted for 20 states this year, so I could name them all, but it just wouldn't make a difference. Just say
Nah,
east of
nah.
the
So just
Mississippi.
yeah. So we'll follow you at In the Shadow of Redeye, right?
Yeah, shadowofredeye.com is my website, and I have all my upcoming appearances on there. I have a really cool email list. If anybody wants to get on that, you could just shoot me an email, any of my socials, and we'll get you on that email list so you can see where I'm going to be and stuff like that as well.
And if a
Very
library would like you to talk, they can also reach out to you there too, right?
Absolutely. I have libraries reach out all the time. I booked 3 venues today. Just today, I booked 3 venues. So I am going crazy over here, as you can imagine.
Well, you'll have to let us know when you're going to be in our neck of the woods, and we'll have to have an in-person impromptu Eerie Travels
Ooh.
go hunt for something as long as the weather's okay.
Or we could just grab lunch.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's
We
Yep.
could go to the Blue Jump Cafe.
the
There we
Boojum
go.
Cafe. There's our travel for this week.
Yes,
There we
Go to
go.
the Boojum Cafe near was that Waynesville?
it's
I think?
Waynesville. Yes.
Waynesville, North Carolina, and they have a wonderful, crazy bar that is Bigfoot themed, and it's a brewery, so you can't go wrong with
That's
that.
awesome.
Well, it was really fun meeting you, Mike. This is really exciting, and that people can go. So there's another travel tip, travelers. Check out the website. I'm sure, based on that many states, he's going to be somewhere near you, as long as you're in the continental United States. So definitely check it out and go see him in person.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be on with you guys. I've been a long time listener and fan, and I really appreciate just having the opportunity to chat with you guys for a little bit. It was super nice to meet you, Erika and Mark. It was, I mean, as fun as
It's always
always.
fun, sir. So as
Yeah.
we have too much fun, and that's always been the case. We like talking monsters, and heck yeah, that's what it's all about. So
Well, you know what will be super cool is we'll have you back after your tour, and then you can tell us all about all of the terribly interesting humans and stories and stuff like that that you heard when you were on the road.
All the unfortunate incidences that have occurred to me through my travels of the year.
Yes,
Yeah.
please keep track of every
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's one of the love hate things about filming a show like I film is I film everything. Everything gets filmed. So those unfortunate times when I do slip and fall, I do get them on video. So they
Yep.
are definitely part of my show. And that's like what sets my show as a little apart from all the other ones too, is just see me fall and make fun of myself. And you see all these terrible things that happen to us along the way, but that's part of the fun, right?
I
Yeah.
think so. I think so. Okay, so people can check you out at your website. We're going to throw all of your information in the show notes. It was absolutely wonderful meeting you.
Yes.
Mark?
Well, all right. I guess it's about time to take it out of here. So thanks again, every listener and traveler, for joining us as always. And we hope you will continue to do so. Please definitely reach out to Mike if you've ever seen anything fun that you want to report to him. He'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear it. You can also follow him at his website and his YouTube channel. In the Shadow of Redeye is a blast to watch. So definitely entertain yourselves with that if you don't feel like going out in the cold and in the dark. But if you do, remember, when you're out in the forest alone at night and you hear that tree knocking and you hear those rocks fall, just remember it may just be a message, but it also might be time to GTFO. And we'll see you on the other side.